right, good evening, everyone. I want to start off by thanking Fred Galvin, Scott Hustings, Amy Foster. How do you pronounce your last name? I don't want to.
Forsyth.
Forsyth, exactly. I was going to say Foster, but excuse me because I have a heavy East Coast accent. So, needless to say, these are three people that I've been able to develop a great relationship with. I started off with Scott because we go back, and Scott actually gave me this beautiful book of Echoes of Ramadi, and we were out there chopping it up on the Marine Corps birthday during the COVID. And then my buddy Fred, who I out there, Few Bad Men, bright red color right there, and that's been an outstanding book. But last but least, I can't forget Amy. Heroes Live Here. So the three outstanding books that I'm been very grateful and having these people. And the reason why I'm having these people is because a couple of things. They're doing a promotion that's pretty much needless to help veterans in the veteran community. The other thing that we want to be able to show is that who are the authors of these books, and they have a backstory to this as well. And for a lot of you don't understand that, there's been a couple book signings, but these books are originally been on Amazon. So I want to give it first off to Fred. We'll start up with Fred, and then just we'll work our way. Well, let me start ladies first. Let's start with Amy first. Scott's in the middle. We'll leave Fred.
Good save.
Amy, go ahead. Talk about what you're all about, and you have the floor. Okay. So this is what we do live. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to join you tonight, and I'm partnered up with these other two Marine veterans who have written amazing books. But my book is called Heroes Live Here. It's a tribute to Camp Pendleton Marines, really just chronicling the last 20 years of combat operations and then the tremendous service and sacrifice from those that were stationed at Camp Pendleton. And the book just details the memorials that are on Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton, and then really a tribute to those that were lost and the memorials that exist for Gold Star families and for Marines who can't really get to Camp Pendleton and see the memorials. That's how the book came to be, is that I wanted to take some photos and share with the families and the Marines that were once stationed at Camp Pendleton and stepped off to go to Iraq and Afghanistan and were never able to come home and see the tributes. And so it's been great to get some great feedback from people. And I was lucky enough that Lieutenant General Larry Nicholson, who was the 1st Marine Division commander, who became the 3MEF commander, he wrote the foreword to the book, and he trusted me to tell this story and showcase really the sacrifice and the support from the local communities.
So, Amy, what inspired you to do this book? Let me put it to you this way, and then we'll work around, because a lot of people don't understand there's a backstory to that. And I need to show the showcase and give you the floor why is it important. All right, go for it.
Well, thank you. I served as a Marine combat correspondent for many years, and I told thousands of stories and taken thousands of photos in Iraq and Afghanistan. And this is just a compilation of some of people I knew, some people I didn't know. And it really just showcases, some behind the scenes or behind the front gate that you wouldn't otherwise know. But the catalyst started, and I'll show you a picture there for people who don't know. There was a Marine officer named Megan McClung, Major Megan McClung, and we deployed together, and she was killed in Iraq in 2006. We came home, we etched out this rock, we put it up on a hill on Camp Pendleton, even though we weren't supposed to do that because it wasn't a sanctioned memorial. But from there, other memorials sprouted up and grew, and the crosses on the top of the Horno Hills, and there's been some other memorials that a lot of people know about. There's memorials people don't know about, like the Canine Military Working Dog memorials that are on Camp Pendleton. Some inside look here, some of these amazing paddles that are on the walls of the recon battalion there. And so I've got some inputs and some stories from other Marines inside the book. My graphic designer created a wall of honor, some names you might remember and recognize out there: Travis Mannion, Doug Zembiak, Major Sergeant Major Robert Cottle, just some great Americans, great Marines, and they all have in common that they were stationed at Camp Pendleton. So this is a love letter to Camp Pendleton, and it started with a little etched rock memorial to honor Megan. And heroes truly live at Camp Pendleton. The names and the faces may change through the years, but the Semper Fi spirit still lives on with the next generation that are training in those hills, training on the beaches, and who pass through the front gates of Camp Pendleton every year, year in and year out. The training continues, the mission continues, it's more demanding than ever, and so that Marines will be ready when called upon.
So one more question for you before I will go to hit to Scott. What inspired you to join the Marine Corps and being an officer? And then from a woman's perspective, we never really hear, how do you see combat, and especially going and coming back? If you don't mind me asking that.
Well, sure. I was really inspired to join the Marine Corps because my grandfather was a Marine. He was an Amtrak officer in Guam, and he met my grandmother, who was an Army nurse in Guam. And I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, and I heard their stories, and it really just stuck with me. So I wasn't a great student in high school. I barely graduated, and I didn't want to go to college. But I was always just drawn to the Marines regardless. And I joined and was lucky enough to get the job that I wanted, which was working in public affairs and as a photographer, to be able to tell the stories and share the courage of Marines. And so I served for about 18 years as active and reserves. And then I switched over to the Navy. So I'm currently still serving in the Navy Reserve as a public affairs officer. And I have about 30 years of total service, and I've served 5 combat tours and many other deployed foreign locations, talking about the courage it takes to wear a uniform. And I work with the media. I prepare senior leaders for media interviews and really tell the story. So I never thought I would write a book. I barely read books for that matter, but my book reads more like a magazine, and it has a lot of full color pictures. And so it just really was a natural fit for me. But I'm so pleased that Marines especially like it. I've gotten good feedback. So if it's okay by them, it's okay with me. And so this is a passion project to showcase the heroes and the rich history of Camp Pendleton. Long before it became a Marine Corps base, there are some relics there and some old homes, and we keep that history alive on Camp Pendleton, where I live near Camp Pendleton today and work on base. And it's just been a passion project for me. But I was inspired when I came across Scott Husing, and he wrote a book about Ramadi, and I was in Ramadi in 2006, and just really got inspired to say, hey, I can probably put together a book. And sure enough, I attended that same event on Marine Corps birthday, and that was in 2020, and just kind of researched how to do the book. And I more or less self-published it because I wanted to maintain creative control. And it's not a book for everyone, but if you're a Marine, you know how important it is to remember those fallen. And this is just a sort of a memorial. It's a tribute book. It's a really kind of a collector's item for anyone, especially who served in Iraq and Afghanistan.
So I love your salad bar, and we're going to talk more about it. So I'm going to go to my next guest, who's Scott Husing. We met a while back, and it was really an honor. You know, Scott reached out to me on LinkedIn. I didn't realize what this guy was all about. And pretty humble guy, but he's got a lot of tricks of the trade, and he's got an aura about him and a swagger that, you know, I still am trying to understand. But, you know, I love him. He's like a brother. He's an outlaw. So, Scott, you got the floor, brother. Go ahead.
Well, it's always good hanging out with you, brother. And this is a great group that we have together. And we just did an amazing thing on September 11th to honor that day and that milestone in American history down in Oceanside, right outside Camp Pendleton. And Amy's book is really such a great tribute, and I have to disagree with her to the point that it may not be for everybody. I think that book is absolutely for everybody. If you think about how many young children or families, they'll never have an opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. or to get access to a military base, you can buy this book and you can really see how especially the Marine Corps and the Navy honor their fallen. And what I'm so connected to Amy's work is the reason she started it through Megan McClung. And she was in Ramadi with me in 2006, right when we showed up. And I think Amy's heard this story, but I don't think you have, but I'll share it because
Go
I
for it.
never like to talk about myself, but I'm in this story and I was driving over to Camp Ramadi. We'd been out patrolling day in, day out. And I just happened to be waiting to see the commander, and I was sitting at a computer terminal, and I opened up an email, and there was a picture of my young daughter. She couldn't have been more than, I think, 2 at the time, and just over 2. And I see this Marine captain walk by, and she's got red hair. She's fit. She looks badass, and she sees me smiling at the computer, and she kind of inquires what I'm doing there. And I looked up at her and I said, I'm looking at your future competition right here because my daughter's a redhead. And she looks at the picture and she, asked where, I came from. And I said, well, they're in Yorktown, Virginia. And she goes, oh, really? My boyfriend's in Yorktown, Virginia. I said, what's his name? She says, Judson Daniel. I said, you're kidding me. And she says, no, do you know him? I said, well, I was in Fast Company and he and I were hunting together in Virginia about 2 months ago before I deployed. So that connection through the Marine Corps being a small place, as we all know, all of us being Marines. But then when you go and fight and you serve and you think, you never cross that line of departure when you go into combat thinking, if bad things happen to me, if I die serving my country, how will I be remembered? None of us ever think someone's going to write a book about us or, and here's 3 authors sitting here today on the show with you that have done just that, because in our core, it's that important to us to really share that piece of history. And what's great about Fred's work and Amy's work too, it's done in such a way that it's I don't want to use the word entertaining, but there's not much of a better word. But when you pick up a book, you don't pick it up to be bored. And I think that that's the real balance that Fred found in sharing his story, and what Amy's done is to really balance that where people are engaged in the book. They want to read it. That's why, they have had so much success with the work. And it's just really cool to see how that all comes around. And here we are, linking up again, doing great things, sharing these stories in a different forum, on a stage or in a literary format, on video, doing shows like this. So it's a really great opportunity.
You know what, Scott? I got to say something. When you first reached out, I was like starstruck because I was going like, yeah, I wrote the book. I'm going like, this is my first celebrity I'm going to be able to. So when we finally met in person, and, during COVID and having this, it meant a lot because it doesn't do you justice when you're on a virtual podcast. And then I think when you meet somebody, you get that personal vibration, that interaction of somebody, and you can feel that it's a great fit. So I really want to thank you for that, brother. I really do.
Absolutely. I think that everybody in this forum right here has mastered the art of sharing the network as well. You are like the czar of network sharing too. I mean, you continually tie people in, and again, it's such a small world where we have contacts of people that you want to interview or you need something from, and you get to that stage in your life, like, why did I accumulate all of this personal wealth, whether it's relationship wealth or financial wealth, if you can't share it with someone? And I think that that's one of the great things that the people we surround ourselves with feel comfortable asking us for those things. And when they give an endorsement or they say, do this, most people know that they're not full of it. They're really giving their honest opinion. I think that that's one of the things you build in your reputation. And I'm happy to do it every time. We were talking just the other day when we were texting about Frank Shamrock hits you up on this platform on LinkedIn. I was like, you want to talk to Frank? Like, yeah, he was on our podcast and he's good people. And that was right at the height of COVID too. Me and Pete Turner were up in just outside of LA. And when we drove back south towards San Diego from LA, you'd have thought it was a Mad Max apocalyptic movie being filmed, because there were no other cars on the highway and there was just trash blowing everywhere right at the height of COVID. And I can't remember when that show came out, but we met face to face right after that.
So awesome. So thanks, Scott. But now last but not least, Fred Galvin, man. Fred reached out to me now a couple years ago, and LinkedIn, and people don't understand that if you use you use social media to the right way, you can really develop some good relationships in a lot of ways. And Fred, is an operator, and we had something. We were both stationed in the same duty station, but I got to learn a lot about Fred, the stoic guy, very religious guy, but pretty much a matter of fact person, which I truly respect. So, well, the one and only Fred Galvin, you got the floor, my man. Go ahead.
Thanks, Haram. And I really appreciate connecting us all together for this opportunity. These are three important stories, and there are some similarities and there's some very big differences, but these books talk about the heroic actions that Marines who were stationed in Camp Pendleton, and then my case, Camp Pendleton, as well as in Camp Lejeune, but they did in fighting in these battles in Iraq and Afghanistan, some very, very heroic things, and then some very shocking things that the enemy did in fighting against us. So you do see both sides of that. One of the differences, the main difference in the book, I don't like to say the book that I wrote, because I was the one that it was written about. A co-author wrote it, so I was the fighter, he was the writer, and he put it in plain language so people could understand. But it was a story, and the difference is this is what not just the enemy did to us, but what we, as in other Marines, did to ourselves that should not happen again. And that's the importance of getting the word out about this. And I've always really appreciated what your passion, Haram, and the passion of both Scott and Amy to care for those that you served with and served beside, and some that like in Amy's case, you didn't have that direct knowledge or connection with, but it's a matter of honor and respect and love to take care of them and their families and to treat them with respect. And there's several of the Marines that all four of us have served with that are going through right before this call is dealing with a Marine really struggling with post-traumatic stress. And a lot of people, for countless reasons, are fighting that battle right now. And really thank you, Ron, for reaching out and connecting them with professionals that are able to help them. And because there is help out there, a lot of people think that it's bigger than themselves, and that is true. It's bigger than themselves, but they must understand that they are able to conquer it if they're able to reach out and get that help. So really appreciate hosting all three of us, Haram, and it's great. And it was great to finally link up and meet with you in person here earlier this year. So that was awesome.
It's great. I mean, even though we had about 5 minutes, it's like, people don't understand it's the moments, right? And the moments are big. But the biggest thing that people don't really understand is that as veterans, we're displaying the veteran community in a way that we're using synergy to be able to put out a good message and collaborate with people that are very like-minded, and they're very strong, and they have a lifestyle of their own. But at the end of the day, we all are together. So with people on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube, they have an idea, but when we start collaborating, they don't understand. So I really want to appreciate that, Fred. So I just need to share this. If you like this segment of LinkedIn Perspective, subscribe it. If you like it, tag it, share it. Go to the YouTube channel, LinkedIn Perspective. If it's a new channel that just came up. The other thing that I want to add is two nonprofits, Save the Brave by Scott Hustings. He's out there. Save the Brave is a nonprofit organization. It's been there for a while. Scott's been doing a lot of rides. We've been going out to Bastards, the two watering holes in Temecula and in Downey, but we've been parked over there as well. And if you're interested, look up at savethebrave.org. I have mine that I just came up with is patriotswitch.com/Hiram. We're doing a mission statement to be able to reinvest into the organizations of first responders and veteran community. With that being said, I want to go back to Amy. Amy, since you've been back from combat tours, and you're still active duty. How's been your your transition from out of country to coming back here? And you have a different perspective that you can share to the viewers, if you don't mind. You're muted.
Yeah, thanks. I was living on Guam, the island of Guam, for 5 years, and if you want to feel out of touch or out of the circuit, that'll do it. And from there, I deployed to Afghanistan under Joint Special Operations Command, and then came back to Guam, and then came back to the mainland. So I've kind of been all over the place the past few years. But I think as a woman, I really am. Even more now, I'm in the reserves, and so I can get called up at any time for service still. But flip the script on the veteran narrative is that they're not homeless, they're not have mental health issues. It's not pervasive across the spectrum, but rather there's some veterans out there who are really excelling and maximizing their own potential and been given a second chance at life, and really taking that to the next level and living a full life for those who can't or who couldn't. And so whatever we can do to give back to those who need it, and make sure that people know that Americans know that when they donate to nonprofits, that the money is going to a good cause. So earlier this year, you guys may remember this, there was a stolen valor case of a woman who had taken up an identity as a combat wounded female Marine. And someone had posted a picture of her on Instagram through the Hunter 7 Foundation. Mm-hmm. And I spotted it. I called her right away, the woman who runs the Hunter 7. And I said, something's not right. That's not a Marine. Her earrings were off. Her ribbons were not right. And sure enough, we discovered through a series of investigations, and the FBI got involved, the Secret Service got involved, that she had never served, but she took in more than $250,000 worth of donations. And so her trial just concluded, and she was sentenced to, I think, 4 years in prison. So having this strong veteran network to look out for each other for stolen valor cases, or things and resources to provide for other veterans who need it. And so those are the big things to look out for: stolen valor, but also reassure people who want to make donations to nonprofits that their money is being spent in a wise and meaningful way for those veterans who need it. So important right now to reassure people and donors.
So Amy, let me ask you, during the course of the time of your reserve, do you have a specific nonprofit that you really is near and dear to your heart that people need to hear from you as well?
Well, thanks for asking. Actually, I partnered with the Semper Fi and America's Fund for my book, and I'll donate a portion of the proceeds to that organization in particular, because that was actually formed in the early days of the Iraq War, just in the early 2003, when Marines were coming back injured from Iraq, from Camp Pendleton, and it was really developed around the kitchen table from some Marine spouses who realized that we're going to need help here for family members that were going to come and travel to Camp Pendleton to be by the bedside of those that were injured. There was nothing in place and no mechanism to help support them. So the Semper Fi and America's Fund, which has grown, it's a nationwide organization with a lot of support, and they partner for many projects. But that is definitely one of my most favorite organizations, just because it was grassroots. Marines started it, and through the Spouse Network, it grew, and so proud to partner with them. And they do such great work across the country.
So, I know about the Semper Fi Fund. I met the founders. I met them a couple of years ago, and I can honestly tell you, you're right. I met 2 combat veterans that were actually the founders, and we did some donations for them. And that's one nonprofit foundation that I really admire, and people need to pay attention because they don't know. So I really appreciate it, Amy. So what you, Scott, let's talk about Save the Brave, my man. So I got Save the Brave decals, we got shirts, but let's hear it from you, brother. What you got?
Well, Amy's always got good stories. It's hard to beat that brig story. She should have went to the brig. They should have sent that stuff. That should be the federal punishment. They go to Leavenworth or a base brig if you're a stolen valor. Like, oh, you want to be in the military? Check this out. We got a place for you.
Yeah.
But anyway, those two nonprofits, by the way, is stolen valor is one thing aside, but there are also a lot of nonprofits out there, even registered nonprofits, and there's over 45,000 veteran service organizations registered with the IRS, and we are one part of that. But you do have to do your due diligence when researching a nonprofit, because some are not using the funds for the best intentions, and they're not really good stewards of donor funds. SaveTheBrave.org was started 7 years ago in 2015, and like many things, born out of tragedy when one of my squad leaders, Simon Litke, killed himself. And when he took his life, we flew a bunch of Marines up to Minnesota to support the family. And when we got back, Nick Velez and I, who owns Bastards Canteen,
Right,
said he wanted to do more. So we took some guys offshore fishing, about 20 vets. We paid for it. We threw some money in the bank. And that was 7 years ago. Last year, we took 30 fishing trips, not only in California, but Mexico. We're fishing in Texas now and Florida. And 100% of all donations to SaveTheBrave.org go to veteran programs. And that's important, because every time we get in a situation where we have a large donation, we always want to try and grow the organization. My philosophy as the executive director leading the team is, let's do what we're doing better and refine that, and then continue to grow. And I'm so lucky to be a part of that team and to be asked to lead them, because we have grown. Like many nonprofits, it's a business that you have to be very meticulous. And America's Fund and Semper Fi Fund, they do it right. I know all the same ladies that started that organization, and they're vital to what we have to do. And one of the things we're very conscious of at Save the Brave, because our mission is to connect veterans who are struggling with post-traumatic stress through outreach programs, and we do that in a safe space where they feel comfortable. But what we've been looking at was this next generation of our peers who are still on active duty, that haven't been able to unpack all that baggage that you accumulate from multiple combat tours. Just being in the Marine Corps is stressful enough. Going to the range is stressful enough. And when they leave, they have not yet unpacked all that baggage. So we're really fortunate that we've got a lot of infrastructure, not just within Save the Brave, but all of these veteran nonprofits, where there is this big safety net that's been created that our Vietnam generation didn't enjoy, that our Korean War generation didn't enjoy. You've got this massive safety net. And I like to think that we're doing our part out of all of those organizations to really create something that people can reach out to, stay connected with. And we're just continually blown away by the amazing support that we get, not just from individual donors, but the people that volunteer their time, that put on events and programs. It's something that at the beginning and the end of every day, everybody on my team just loves helping other people. And I think that's what fuels our tank. Is we get up every morning, and before we go to bed at night, we're just extremely thankful to have the capacity to continue to serve.
You know what, Scott? We've been talking for quite a while, and then I've been talking to Fred. It's like, I'm looking to change careers because I work for the federal government, right? But it's nothing to where you guys are too busy having fun while I'm working. You, Amy, Fred. I mean, Fred's a different story, but Fred's another success story. But you guys, I see you go fishing, and here I am stuck over here. I say, you know what? I'm not doing something right. I'm going to have to follow you guys' lead, because you're right. People don't understand when you're together and everything, and you're doing things for veterans, and you love what you do. It makes it more enjoyable versus just slaving for something that's not sufficient and giving, your life purpose. So we're going to talk, because I want to be able to partner with you and Amy and Fred. But I'm going to go with Fred, because a lot of people don't know about Fred, but I can honestly tell you, man, I've been impressed with him, and he's got a new career at a later part of his life, and I think that it says all on his chest right there. But needless to say, I want to talk to Fred of if he has any nonprofits, but he's doing some other things. But go ahead, Fred. I don't want to take too much airtime from you, so go ahead.
Yes, so I appreciate the opportunity again, Haram. right when I retired from the Marine Corps, I had this calling to serve, and I had never actually had anyone that I'd served with in the same unit that I was in that was killed while in action while I was there. Several of those that I know, some who Amy has highlighted in her book that I had served with, have unfortunately been killed in action. But I ended up founding and leading Heroes United, which has now been dissolved, but it was a 100% program charity in Mid-America. So as long as families could come to our location, we held over that until I moved to Hawaii in 2018, but we held 41 morale events, and these included rodeos, professional singers like Trace Atkins, professional sports teams, collegiate sports teams, and we assigned 8 different scholarships to different universities for the Gold Star children, and also the one was a Gold Star wife. So this was an incredible opportunity. And then I went over to Hawaii, and then shortly thereafter became involved in another situation, which to this day, literally today, talking with one of the 3. There's a case that I've been advocating for coming up here in a few months. It'll be the 4-year mark of 3 other Marine special operators who've been caught in the crossfires of a military justice case.
Yep.
Different, completely different, but there are some similarities. Their case was in Iraq, case I was involved in. It's detailed in the book A Few Bad Men. It was in Afghanistan, and unfortunately, the military is not letting go of these 3 who were surrounded by 7 people, and one of them, actually there was 8, but surrounded by 7, and the 8th guy came in and attacked one of these Marines very aggressively. He was a 275-pound bodybuilder, and anyway, the Marines defended themselves with 1 punch, and that assaulter of these special operators later died 4 days later in Germany. But these guys did exactly what they were trained in the Marine Corps. In boot camp, you're trained in Marine Corps martial arts, which teaches little moral lessons in addition to the physical side of it. These guys did just that. These were seasoned staff non-commissioned officers and a chief petty officer that did what the Marine Corps expected them to do. They didn't dogpile on all 7 of them or one of them. They did the exact thing that they were told to do. They used the minimal amount of force. They used restraint, and they did the honorable thing. They reported it immediately. They treated him, and they evacuated him. And now they're all 3, unfortunately, charged with homicide. So to make this brief, I do want the listeners to understand they should research the MARSOC. That's MARSOC 3. Their case has now been assigned to general court martials. That's the most severe form of punishment of the 3 types of court martials. It's most severe type of case of those 3, and they will be brought into court in January 2024, 4 years almost to the day from the incident, for defending themselves, which as Amy and Scott and myself, we've all been overseas. There's rules over there, and one of those are if you or your fellow service members are attacked, it obligates you to defend yourself and your fellow service member, and that's what they did. So it really sends mixed signals. And one thing, Haram, when you're talking about post-traumatic stress, when you're talking about situations that America has been clearly able to see this last year, when we want to be effective, and you see Russia, much larger force, has the material assets that dwarf Ukraine, but they are currently been brought down and very ineffective against Ukraine because of the morale. And when you send mixed signals to those frontline foot soldiers of do this, but then we're going to catch you in the crossfire, it really gets in the psyche of an American fighting man or woman of, I don't know, do I even leave the base? And we've seen, unfortunately, how the war, especially in Afghanistan, ended without a victory. And it just continued to drag on for 20 years. And these three special operators assigned at the same command that I was in, the Marine Special Operations Command, based there in Camp Lejeune. Their lives hang in the balance, and I really ask all of your listeners to research their case, to take 5 minutes, not asking for anything else, just congress.gov/members, contact your member of Congress and state that you want them to join ranks with Congressman Louis Gohmert and have this case dismissed. Unfortunately, it's the military has shown in other sexual assault cases that have been mishandled, that they are not doing these with honor and justice. And that's America's a legal society based on laws. That's what it says under the apex of the Supreme Court, equal justice under law. And no man or woman that's serving in our military should be exposed to that kind of abuse. And really do believe that these cases would be better off handled by civilian authorities. I'm talking specifically capital offense cases where somebody's accused of homicide, something that's punishable by death. These be tried outside of this military justice system, where the convening authority, nowhere else in America at all, you have the convening authority, the person who finally makes the final decision is in charge of everybody in the jury's promotion, retention, their next assignment. Tell me there's not something wrong with that type of influence. That doesn't go on in other military or other American judicial processes. So, but please look into this case and take action. That's what I ask the listeners.
You know what? I got to touch this before I go to Amy. So since we brought up this case, and I've been doing quite a few podcasts, as you know, on the Mossack 3, and I've gotten close to one of the operators. I've actually spent time with their families and everything else. And to me, with this going on for 4 years, and everybody knows what's going on, this is just pretty much a cancel culture within our own organization in the military. And people wonder why the recruiting is low and how the transition from active duty is going on and so forth and so forth. And when you spend time with one of the operators, and I've spent time for him for since this case has come out, it draws a concern to me, because I can't see that individual doing time for something that he was put in a position to defend. And this is exactly why a lot of listeners need to understand the backstory of why there's a lot of injustice within the Marine Corps based on certain circumstances. But at the end of the day, nobody's perfect. But when you see something that's wrong, say something, do something, take some action to be able to do that. So I want to thank you. And Amy, how do you feel about what I just elaborated on that as well?
Well, working as a public affairs officer and working in public affairs through my entire career, 30 years, we've had a lot of cases that come through, and there's a lot of legal ramifications and the media interest and how to create messages and a narrative and respond to the queries. So being a part of that machine has been very enlightening through the years. And so it's been very difficult to say, am I culpable? Am I a part of this? Am I perpetuating false narratives? Or how to walk that delicate line of what's the official response and then what is, really happening. So the past couple of years, I've really questioned more and more my own positioning, and is the Marine Corps an organization that I want to tie myself to? And so I can only imagine other Marines think that too. The legacy and the honor, courage, and commitment that has been the hallmarks of the Marine Corps for so long. But like you, I'm a federal employee too. So I do work for the Marine Corps as a federal civilian as well. So writing my book and my projects, it's taken, my nights and weekends and every spare moment I have. But I, I I empathize with those Marines, and I understand how delicate the situation is. But I do think there's got to be a reckoning on our Uniform Code of Military Justice soon, because just like with the sexual assault cases and these allegations that get swept under, what's happened recently is that authority has been taken away from commanders to adjudicate these cases, because basically they can't be trusted to do the right thing. So if that's the case for those cases, there's probably other room that they can't be trusted to adjudicate other legal pending cases for other circumstances. So kind of remains to be seen. And I'm not a JAG, so I can't speculate, but from a public affairs perception, it is having an impact on our recruiting efforts. So we all want, as Americans, we want top talent to come into the military. We want our top people, our most loyal, dedicated Americans to serve, because that's who I want on my left and right. I want the new generation to be just as dedicated and committed to the mission, and able to be trained and fight with everything they've got. But if we can't recruit the best talented people, we're going to be in serious trouble if we are really have to lower the standards because those people are opting not to join. So it's just a circle of what we're saying and doing has to match our core values in order to attract those top talented people. Parents, coaches, teachers are going to advocate and say, hey, I think you should join the military. I think you should come in as an officer. I think you should apply to enlist. We need them to say it's a safe place to join. It's a decent organization with decent people. So it's just it's a ecosystem that needs to serve itself for the greater good. So we have a great team to work with.
So Amy, I really thank you for that, because I didn't want to put you on the spot because you are, a federal employee and everything. I just wanted to give you a perspective, because I just hear it from there, because I didn't want to implicate it, but I really appreciate you clarifying that as well. So for myself, Scott, you've been doing a lot of great things. You've been out there speaking to the people, the veterans, the active duty in Camp Pendleton. You've been retired. You've been doing your consulting firm. You've been able to be in quite a few areas. Now that you've been continue to be successful in a way that people are gravitating to what you have to say and collaborating with Amy and Fred, what's your perspective as a Marine himself, and now that you've been out, of how you're seeing the culpability or the collaboration with other veterans as you become to give back to society?
It's a good question. I think one of the things I'm continually reminding people of, especially in the veteran space, is we live in this culture in the military of vast meritocracy of what you've done and what you're capable of doing in the future as it pertains to promotions or awards, all of those things. And then when you transition out of the military, you don't have that culture around you unless you stay connected to it in some way. But I constantly have to remind people too of the importance of what you're doing now and what you're going to be doing in the next 2, 3, 5 years. I'm really hard pressed sometimes, even though I know it's part of what I do to get the message out and to share stories. But I did 24 years in the Marine Corps and did a bunch of deployments and was in combat, but that's what I did. That's not what I am doing now. That's not who I am. Right. And I think when people transition from the military, especially the Marine Corps, which is steeped in culture and tradition, they really have a hard time figuring out who they are now. And although the Marine Corps, I attribute a lot of my success to the organization and the people that I was surrounded by, it doesn't really define me as a person. I don't think even while I was on active duty, I thought that this uniform and this rifle and this way we talk and the way we walk really defines who I am. You subscribe to a lot of those things to fit in and to follow the procedures and orders of the military, but I don't think it really made up 100% of my personality. And as I transitioned, I think that you have to understand that you're not in the Marine Corps anymore. There are so many other different circles that you can be connected to, and people will let you into those circles, and they may seem really far out in left field that you wouldn't normally get into. Fred works at Tesla. Who'd have thought, this door kicking badass from Marsoc would be working in an electric car company someday? But that's what he does. And he also understands that you have to be great at what you're doing now and looking 2 to 3 years in the future to continue to be successful. That being said, that doesn't mean you have to hit the delete button on all of the amazing tools and traits and leadership skills that you learn in the military. You absolutely retain those, but you have to do it in a way where there's a broader understanding, because the military is such a small segment of the American society, of this American population, less than 0.5%. When you get out into the other sectors, you have to be a little bit flexible. And if there's one thing that Marines are great at, it's being flexible. I think they're the masters of it. So when you transition and you really just do the work and you put that grind in, which we're all trained to do, that's where I've attributed my success, is taking some of that and then really understanding that I have to be willing to listen to different people in different businesses, different arenas, and all of those people. Whenever I go to speak to audiences or we do a panel discussion, all the questions that come back to me, they just blow my mind, because I always wind up leaving those places learning more from them and the people in the after party or the cocktail hour than I probably ever gave them speaking on stage. So it's been really beneficial to me to understand that.
You know what, Scott? I'm thinking, I'm calculating. What all four of us, we got about 85 plus years military service. You know that, between all four of us, and people don't really understand that. And I think that one thing I learned from you, Scott, is that you're right. A lot of people have, and I've been pretty much guilty of this, is that you're not in the Marine Corps anymore. That was a small segment of your life. Now you have to take the tools, the transferable skills that you learn, and apply it, that you can be successful and re-identify yourself, that people can be approachable, and then you can be able to do something with a purpose. I've learned and I failed from that, and I've been able to be grateful for that. And it's people like you, Fred, and especially Amy. It helps me elevate the stuff, because there's times we get a dark time. You know what I'm saying?
The cool thing about being in the Marine Corps, especially, and this isn't snipe at any of the other sister services, but when people in those other circles that I was referring to, when you hold up that key, that's your all access key, is you were a Marine, and they're like, oh, you were in the Marine Corps? Come into our circle, because it gives you a little bit of celebrity status, so to speak, because they're not going to let everybody in certain professions or certain clubs or certain organizations. But whether you serve 4 years or 24 years, you've done more than most of the American population. I don't care if you're scraping paint off a ship, kicking doors in Ramadi, flying a jet, driving a tank, a bulk fuel specialist. I don't care. You served your country, and it matters. And I crush people into fine powder when I run into some young veteran, they're like, I was just an aviation mechanic. And I say, hey, you were never just anything, brother. You were responsible for a lot more than you give yourself credit for. So don't ever let me hear you saying that. And I think that you got to retain that, a little bit of that Marine Corps bravado, to really push yourself into those situations where you look at them as opportunities, instead of people saying, I'm nervous about transitioning out of the military, or I'm scared to get a new job. Like, nah, don't be scared. That's not in our nature. Be excited, be aggressive about it, be understanding, do the research and do the work. And it makes that transition process so much easier on people. And I love being able to share that advice.
Hey, thanks, Scott. And with Fred, man, Fred, and I appreciate you so much, Scott. You don't know, Fred is a success story, because we're talking and going like, here's a guy. You're right. Spend time in the Marine Corps, did a lot of stuff. Look what he's wearing now, right? This guy called me and said, hey, he kept it quiet. And he says, and then I look, and he says, you got hired by Tesla? He says, man, how did you pull that? And he just stays there quiet as I just did what I had to do. So Fred, without any further ado, go in and share your story. I think it's a point. It's a valid point to to share something that people don't understand, especially in your walk of life?
Yeah, good topic, and a lot of that were the lessons learned through growing up, playing sports, competitive sports, as well as martial arts, sports at the school, and then joining the Marine Corps. They instilled that mentality that you continue to fight, whether you're playing a team sport or an individual sport. You use every cell in your body to win against your competition, your adversary, and you never look back and sit there and wallow in any kind of self-pity. It's always how to move forward, advance, improve yourself. The Marine Corps really instilled that in each of these courses that I'd go through, whether it's in the mountains or close quarter battle courses in the Marine Corps special operations. What I didn't expect was, my story is not some happy love story. Sorry to break anyone's heart, but it's a few bad men as being betrayed. In America, we don't like to think of the words traitor or treason. They're not painted well throughout American or world history. But this situation happened, and there was a few of us that took the blunt of this blow. Picturing us walking into a courtroom on a war crimes trial for the largest number of alleged civilians killed during the war in Afghanistan by machine guns. And I was the poster boy. So that did have severe negative consequences, the professional destruction. It was challenging having to apply for 700 open positions. And one thing I will say is I learned how to write resumes and attended all these different types of courses to make these things laser guided and make it as perfect as you possibly can. And it took 5 years. I founded a business and a charity, and I was running those back in mid-America before I was able to get my first job. I'd been allowed one other prior interview, but I wasn't even getting interviews. And this wasn't I wasn't applying for C-suite jobs. I'm talking, no kidding, material handler, yard holster, just basic jobs at blue collar occupations. It's about having some of that humble pie. So, but anyway, I was able to finally move beyond that, advance, and get a job where I worked 4 years in various different capacities back with the federal government in the Department of Defense specifically, before I was able to get this position at Tesla. So, but it's a humble honor working with people who are driven, who have some of these the engineers of minds and their drive to create robots and robo taxis and some of these far out innovative devices that are literally going to disrupt so many portions of the United States and global economy. Can't really talk about, there's one person by our policy that's allowed to speak on behalf of the company, but it's just a huge honor, humbling. Just I don't walk around with a swagger because I've been humbled through the events that are written in that book. It's some things that should never have happened to people, where you're literally beat down beyond where you feel that you can. But the book is about overcoming all that. And one thing I did want to mention, actually two things. It's great that all four of us are here in California, just in different parts right now. But for your viewers and listeners, Haram, the good thing is if, especially if they're in California, up here in Northern California, just 1 week from now, there's going to be a very special event, which I just really wanted to mention before it's not covered. But
you beat me to it. Oh, go for it.
Okay. Well, then I'll turn it back over to you to talk about this special event where we're going to be, although we're diverged right now, we're going to converge on a incredible opportunity at a very important historical hotel that Marines funded and created for those right after World War II, so they'd have a place to come back to reunite, and that's what's going to be going on. So I'll let you do the intro and finale on that, Ron.
Well, so I don't know the gist of it. All I know is that you guys got another big event. I missed the one in Oceanside. I was in New York that time. It really sucked, but I can honestly tell you, when you guys were doing this big event in 9/11, over here in Camp Pendleton, I was in New York, and I could tell you, I couldn't even get to and I rented a car. It took me 2.5 hours to get to one location for 18 miles during 9/11. But, you guys got a big event. And I think it's October 13th or something like that. Correct? And it's up there in San Francisco. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. So October 13th, it's a Thursday night. You can go online to marinesmemorial.org and click on the website. It's at the Marines Memorial Club, 608 Sutter Street in San Francisco. It's going to be an amazing panel. It's going to be me, Fred, Amy, and we've got an amazing moderator, retired Marine Gunnery Sergeant Jessie Jane Duff, who's been on Newsmax, One American News. She's all over the map, and she's coming down to moderate the event. It's going to be filmed. It'll be available online through the YouTube channel that Marines Memorial Club has, but tickets are free. It's a great room. It's limited seating. You have to go online now to marinesmemorialclub.org. Click on the link for events. It'll say Outside the Wire with Fred, Amy, and Scott. You can click, reserve your ticket, and show up. It's a great night. The museum or the hotel is like a museum. Every floor has some sort of Marine Corps naval tradition and history, and all honors all of the Marines and soldiers and sailors that were killed in this war in Iraq and Afghanistan. And it's just a really cool event that we've put together to get on stage. Jessie asks a few questions, and then really we love to turn it over to the audience. So if you want to get your book signed, we're going to have books available. Each of our books will be up there. We'll have copies. You can bring your own if you have a copy. Come in and have it signed. Meet us, and there's going to be a cocktail hour, and we do the event. It's just an amazing experience, and we're lucky to get together again. And we're going to keep doing this as long as people have us.
That's why I'm not in a good position, right? Amy works for the federal government. I work for the federal government. I should be your manager, be part of this. And
quit, do it. You're hired.
I am. I'll be honest. I'm calling myself out, right? I've been watching you guys for the last 2 years, right? And no offense, Amy, be working for the Marine Corps. I love it and everything else, but no, I mean, it sucks to be me right about now. But Amy, let me ask you a question. You doing this? Your takeaway from Camp Pendleton that you had this platform with Fred and Scott. Your takeaway, and what is it that you can bring to the table for others in this big event that just Scott talked about coming up here in next week?
Well, thank you. Yes, I welcome everyone to come and see us in San Francisco, join us in the city for this panel event. It's actually returning to home for me because I was born and raised in Sonoma County, which is just north of San Francisco. So I hope to have a few family members there. But I do agree that I think that this forum is great. I think that there's other potential veteran authors out there just waiting to get their story out with books, film, TV, and other venues. And so maybe we'll toss around an LA venue to get this maybe on C-SPAN, or just talking about each of us, how we formulated the book. And I'm definitely an unsuspecting author type, but if I can do it, anyone can do it. And so I think there's room out there to people want to engage and meet. And it always means more when you can get a book from the author directly. It just has a greater impact instead of buying it off Amazon. So if anyone would like to learn more about Heroes Live Here, they can go to my website, heroeslivehere.com. But again, those in-person events are just memories that are created, and we want to meet people in person and share those experiences and get their questions, and really that's where the rubber meets the road. So we're looking forward to maybe doing more events in the coming months and into next year as well.
You guys got me all fired up. So Scott called me out. I want to quit. Yeah, I want to quit with a nice exit plan. I just, I'm not 21 where I could just say I quit and I'll think about it. So I'm down with quitting with it. And we're going to wrap up here. So Scott, we're going to go with you and come back with Amy. What have you got out of this podcast, and what can you leave with something for the listeners that's very important, because you got free time? We're going to go over, but how often do we get all four of us together?
The real lesson for me is simply making time. There's so many opportunities, there's so many shows, and I've done hundreds and hundreds of podcasts and interviews, but it never makes me more humble than when fellow Marines ask me to come on and just talk and connect. And I think you have to make time. You have to put it in your schedule. And there's a lot of people in life that will complain about what they don't have or what they didn't do. And I always ask them, did you make time to do that? Were you present? Did you focus on that goal? Did you make it happen? Because it's very attainable at any level. But just this forum right here, whether it's online or not, I think is important, because you're sharing stories, you're reconnecting, you're raising questions. And I'll tell you, for the last 3 years, everyone's been so bogged down with COVID and isolation. Hey, if you're listening, if you're watching this, if you're up in the Bay Area, if you're in the San Diego area, I don't care, drive up to San Francisco and come join us at the club. Come to the Marines Memorial Club, have a drink with us, meet us, hang out, connect. That's the best thing that comes out of stuff like this, is that there's going to be one person, I guarantee, that shows up at the club and they're going to say, oh, I saw you on Hiram's show and I was in the area and I popped in and I wanted to say hello to you guys. I guarantee that's going to happen. And that's a powerful thing. So thanks again for having us on.
Don't worry, we're going to celebrate the Marine Corps birthday also. So Fred, you more or less, what did you get out of it? What can you leave with the listeners as well?
Well, it was interesting, seeing some of the comments from your listeners in there talking about the Marine Memorial Hotel and how, one said it was his home away from home. It really, really is an incredible place. Been there many times. We used to train up in Bridgeport, not far away from here in the Bay Area. And it was just kind of like a little retreat if you're out there for training for 6 weeks, to break away, come in and celebrate and have a good time, like Scott was saying. So I know we're about ready to head into next month. We have Veterans Day, and that's a time when a lot of veterans reflect on their service and service of others that they served with, someone who died. And I really just encourage people to take the time, schedule it on your calendar if you can. Not everybody is up in this neck of the woods, but please make an effort. We'd love to see you. It's hard to make promises, but you won't be disappointed and say, man, that was a horrible evening. I don't think anybody goes home from the Marines Memorial Club. And one thing is that they have a nice club there that we're going to be meeting everybody at afterwards, so we can knock back a few of those liquid soldiers and have some good times. So
I gotta quit. I gotta quit.
Yeah, go ahead. But,
no, I'm just saying I gotta quit because I should be up there with you guys. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Amy, yourself, what did you get out of this, and what can you leave? A heartfelt message for the viewers of who you are and what you do. Okay.
Well, I just want to say thank you for, over the years, you've created a tremendous community of people and supporters. I love all the comments here. And, it takes a lot of work to build a network online and social media. It's a constant, consistent message. And, you've really done an amazing job. And so you've built up such a great following, and you're a trusted agent of information, especially for veterans. So I just want to say thank you for that. And thank you for having us on. And I see some people interested in learning more about how to either self-publish a book or get a book deal. And so maybe it's something we can talk about in another session. I'd love to share just my path and the business side of the book industry, and for other people who have a message out there, and especially developing more women authors, women speakers as veterans, and being trusted to tell that story. And so I'm so grateful, especially the Marine stories normally told by Marines. And so hopefully mine comes across as genuine, and just really grateful for the opportunity to partner with these other two Marines. And then, for your generosity and your time tonight to share this venue with everyone. Thank you.
Well, it's not over yet, so I'm gonna go with one more book. We're gonna go with the book, Echoes of Ramadi with my buddy right here, Scott Hustings. You got to get it on Amazon right here. Then we have the next book, and I'm collecting these books as we go. A Few Bad Men right here by my great friend right here, Fred Galvin. And last but not least, because you have it back there, but I want people to see it, Heroes Live Here from you, Amy. So I just want everybody to understand that we have an opportunity. I'm looking to quit. I'm looking to do this. I need support. I'm calling myself out because you guys are having too much fun, and it sucks for me not being there. So with that being said, just stand by. If you like the segment of LinkedIn Perspective, like it, share it, tag it, make your comments known. If you want to reach out to Amy, Scott, or Fred, make your comments known and reach out to them because they'll be more than happy to. But most of all, we really appreciate this platform because this is the first of many podcasts, seasoned veterans. And if you missed the one event at Camp Pendleton, don't miss one. And Scott, you can repeat the what's going on out there in San Francisco. Go for it.
Yeah, this Thursday, October 13th at 7 p.m. is when the event starts. Be there at 6. Marines Memorial Club. It's on Sutter Street, downtown San Francisco. You can get rooms available. They have room rates for veterans. You can stay at the hotel if you come up, spend the night, but it's Outside the Wire with Amy Forsyth, Fred Galvin, Scott Husing, moderated by Jessie Jane Duff, retired Marine Gunnery Sergeant, and news pundit. She's great. It's going to be a 2-hour-long presentation in the Commandant's Room at the Marines Memorial Club. There's going to be drinks. There's food available. It's an amazing venue. And it's going to be an amazing panel. We'll take questions from the audience, and we're looking to just meet everybody. There'll be books available for signing. So get to the Marines Memorial Club Thursday, October 13th. We're looking forward to seeing everybody. And hey, again, Hiram, thank you for what you do, brother, in Semper Fi.
Hey, man. Thank you. That's why I'm inspired. I'm going to quit. Trust me. I'm calling myself out. I'm getting tired of this. I want to be with you, Amy. I want to break bread. I want to throw them back as well. I want to be myself. So that's why people need to understand that the power of social media and everything else and collaboration is very legit. And it's something that you can't buy. And people are trying to monetize things. And sometimes that comes in the long run, but you got to be able to put in that sweat equity. And so with that being said, I want to personally thank everyone. Simplify, always beside you, stand by. If you like this segment of LinkedIn Perspective, share it, tag it, subscribe it, and go to Amazon and look for those 3 books. All right. Thank you very much.